So this weekend started, and it was ugly. I mean, that doubleheader on Friday was terrible. Stephen Vogt left Alex Cobb in too long. I get it. His starting pitchers have...
What'd you think of Cobb? His stuff.
I thought we saw some good stuff there.
I did too.
Alex Cobb has always been a good, solid starting pitcher. Now he's old and he hasn't pitched all year. Well, relatively old. And he hasn't pitched all year. I think we saw some good things. In the end, he fell apart that last inning. I think he'll be fine as their third, fourth starter in the playoffs. I think he will be by the time we get there. It's going to take. Listen, this is basically a spring training here.
Right.
But it was a terrible Friday. They played really poorly, and that 7-game losing streak, they played the worst ball we've seen from them all year. But what's funny is that losing streak started with 2 losses to Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
We look at that Baltimore series where they split a 4-game series as, that was a bad series because of the way it ended. Whereas the Twins series, they did the same thing, split 4 with Minnesota, but it ended positive, and you feel good. And I referenced this earlier, but Bibee and Williams are the key, right? We know the Guardians' bullpen is the best in baseball.
Yeah.
And even though outside of Clase, some of those guys have never done it before this year, I feel 100% confident in the Guardians' bullpen, and I have more confidence in Emmanuel Clase than any relief pitcher in the entire game right now.
Yeah, well, I got a stat for you I'll give when you're done.
Yeah.
To blow you away.
It's amazing. There's so many unbelievable things with him. But you saw a preview of what the playoffs can be. Gavin Williams and Tanner Bibee are extremely talented pitchers, but we got to keep in mind that they're extremely young and inexperienced pitchers. Yeah. Even though, especially Bibee kind of gives you a veteran vibe, but he's still been in the big leagues like a year and change, and he's been dealing with some stuff. But for him to come back off missing that start and pitch the way he did yesterday in a game, you're like, got to get it.
Yeah.
Got to get these two. And now...
It shows he's got big game moxie.
And Gavin Williams and Tanner Bibee push each other. They've been pushing each other since the minors. Zach Meisel told a great story this morning on the Guardians show. Go back and watch it if you're a Guardians fan, about how when they were at last year's spring training, before they were really completely on the radar, that the Guardians would send out a media alert in spring training last year every day. Bibee and Williams will be pitching on backfield 4 if you want to go see them. And everybody wanted to go see Bibee and Williams pitch, and they would push each other.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. Gavin Williams went out there Saturday and said, we got to end this.
Yeah, here it is. And he said to Tanner Bibee, now it's your turn.
That's right.
And he answered it.
And he did. And that was huge because now it's 4 less games on the schedule, and they're still 3.5. They're not 8-9 that they were. I get it.
Right.
The Twins are a good team. The Royals are a good team. They were going to make a run. Yep. We're not used to the Central being pretty good. It is.
Very good.
We know how bad the White Sox are.
Yeah.
But the rest of the division is good. Even the Tigers, they're competitive.
Sure.
They're great, but they're competitive.
Got 3 teams that are in the mix.
I think it's going to be, I believe, the first time ever that 3 Central teams make the playoffs in the same year. I don't think that's ever happened.
I can't remember a time that's happened.
The Royals are a good baseball team.
They are.
They're not as good as the Guardians, but they're a good baseball team.
Now, we got to break. The Twins lost a pitcher, maybe for the season. We don't know yet.
What's his name? I just forgot his name. Not Bailey Ober.
This happened Friday.
Not Lopez. Joe Ryan.
Yes, Ryan.
Right. And that's a big loss for them.
It might be. They don't know yet. It might be for the year.
Yes.
That's a huge help to us.
But
I'm going to do something. Bull, I want your reaction to this. Probably going to kill me for this.
Uh-oh.
He's not on their level, and he certainly hasn't shown it this year, but neither had Gavin Williams until yesterday or until this weekend. But I think Logan Allen is a guy that we're going to get something from before it's done this year. And I know it was disappointing the way he was sent down. You know, he kind of rolled his eyes when Vogt came out to get him.
Yeah.
And boom. You know, and it had already been an issue and it had been discussed.
Right.
Boom, you're down. And then he came back up. First 2 hitters hit home runs. First pitch of the game,
he pitched great after that.
Second hitter, boom.
Yeah. And
then I think he got a standing A count.
Yeah.
He knocked it off, and he pitched great after that.
He actually got in further trouble that inning and then got a double play to get out of the inning.
Yeah.
And then he was lights out the rest of the game.
Then he was Logan Allen again.
Yeah.
He's better than he's shown us this year. Now, you can also argue that on the flip side of that, we're getting performances from pitchers that the guy going, I think Lively's going tonight.
Ben Lively's going tonight, yeah.
Lively's going for win 11.
Yeah.
Boom, head blown.
Yeah.
So, and we expected something out of Bieber, got nothing. We expected something out of McKenzie, got nothing.
If I were the Guardians, I've been saying this for a couple of weeks, I would be not long term. We're not giving up on Tristan McKenzie.
Not yet.
I would put him in the bullpen right now.
Smart move. I thought the same thing.
Let's see what he can do. Yeah. Because in the playoffs, I don't need a fifth starter in the playoffs.
No, but you get 2 or 3 innings.
I need a couple extra bullpen guys. And some of their back-end bullpen guys have kind of come back to earth. They're back. I'm sorry. When I say back-end, I mean like they're the 5th, 6th, 7th relief pitcher.
Don't you need your bullpen? You need your bullpen guys to come in and throw strikes? That is not
well, you do, and Tristan hasn't been able to do that this year.
Correct.
Right.
But I'd like to see him for a month pitch 1 inning a night.
How did he do over the weekend?
His last start was really good, actually.
Well, no, that was his.
Or is it 2 starts ago?
He was scheduled to go either Friday or Saturday. I can't remember.
I'm looking at. Hold on one
second. But his start before that, he was Tristan McKenzie again.
But remember this, and who knows if it's going to work out. Remember early in his career, Carlos Carrasco was very inconsistent as a starting pitcher early in his career.
Yeah.
And then remember, the Guardians moved him to the bullpen. I don't even remember what year it was, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They moved him to the pen, and we can go back and look at it. And he was lights out in the pen.
Yeah, he was.
And then the next year, I don't know if it was the beginning of the season or maybe May. He went back in the rotation
and was better.
And he was.
That's when he became Carlos Carrasco.
The rest of his career. Yeah. Now McKenzie's got good stuff still. The control's been awful. It's a huge problem. He's a non-factor for them starting the rest of the season.
Right.
But he's got good enough stuff that I got a month. Let's see for a month how he does out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, what'd you lose? Nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
If it works, maybe he can be an extra weapon in the playoffs.
The only thing is, we had the safety net.
Yeah.
At a 9-game lead where you could tinker. But
it's in the no.
gone.
I'm saying have him do it in the minors for a month.
Oh wow! Yeah.
In the minors,
you think he would do that,
or at least a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Let's see what he looks like. Because let's say for 3 weeks he has 6 appearances and he's lights out in the pen, then call him up and put him. Right now, what am I getting from Pedro Avila in the back of the pen? He's not been good.
Nothing.
So if Tristan McKenzie can become my 5th, 6th relief pitcher, maybe he's something there.
Did you see his last line? Or was he scratched?
It's hard to find game logs for minor league stats. I'm sure. Oh, I found it. There we go.
Okay, what do you got? What do you do?
4.8 innings pitched, so 4 2/3.
Yeah, 4.8.
No, I lied. 5 innings pitched. That's his ERA.
Okay.
I think that's backwards.
Yeah, that didn't make much sense.
5 hits, 2 runs in 5 innings, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts.
It's not great.
No, but only 2 walks, not bad. Here, by the way, one other thing on the pitching. On Tuesday, Matthew Boyd is going to make his season in Guardians
another
debut.
one.
Now,
Coming
unlike
off
Cobb,
Tommy John.
like Cobb's been a good, solid pitcher his whole career.
Right.
Good pitcher. Matthew Boyd's kind of been at best average, really more of a below average starting pitcher for most of his career. And he is coming off Tommy John, who knows. The only thing I'll say that has
good.
He has been lights out in rehab in about 23 innings.
He has.
He not just good, he's been dominant.
Yeah, he has.
Now, will it translate to the majors? I have no idea.
No idea.
It's something to keep an eye on.
Have you been paying attention to Bazzana, by the way?
Say again?
Have you been paying attention to Bazzana?
Yeah.
It's not a good start for him.
It hasn't been great, and he's not going to help him this year. But
I was hopeful that they might see him in September. That's not going to happen.
Now, can I make my bold statement?
Yes.
Or my
What
bold
was it?
declaration?
Absolutely.
Or Mike, you got something else real quick on the?
No. Keep it going.
Okay.
We're Guardians till the end.
So we have the next 3 days. The Guardians playing the Cubs.
Right.
Now, the Cubs are a average, middle of the road team. Probably the worst team. The Guardians are in a stretch of playing great teams.
They are.
And the Cubs are probably the worst team they're playing in the stretch. Now they've played much better the last couple of weeks. They had been down to almost 10 games. I think they were 10 or 11 games under 500. They're now only 1 game under 500.
Oh, wow.
And only 3 games out of a wild card spot. So they're playing much better the last couple of weeks. It's the best their record's been since late May, early June. And the one thing they've done well all season is their starting pitching. That's been the strength. Their lineup's been like a poorer version of the Guardians. It's pretty good up front and terrible in the back.
Right.
It's not as good as the Guardians up front, and their bullpen is absolute trash.
Yep.
Maybe the worst in baseball. So, but despite all that, the Cubs are in it. They're 3 games out of a wild card.
Stunning to me.
Stunning, as bad as they
They
played.
were sellers at the trade deadline.
Yes, although it was a mixed thing because they traded for a guy from Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But it's Zach Paredes, who I actually like that move a lot. And one of the pitchers in this series is a guy I wanted the Guardians to get, Jameson Taillon, who did not pitch well his last start, but overall the season's been great as an ERA around 3. So it's not going to be an easy series, although I expect the Guardians to win it. But I'm going to say something that I have never said in my entire life.
Whoa.
In 53 years on this planet. I am rooting for the Cleveland Guardians to sweep the Cubs this week.
Wow.
Even though the Cubs are my team, everybody knows I rooted for them in the World Series. There was some pain because I have loved the Indians/Guardians since I've been here. If they'd played any of the other 14 American National League teams in the World Series, I would have been beyond 100% in. What can I do? I'm rooting for a team my whole life. I'm not going to root against them. But even this, like if the Cubs were completely out of it, maybe you'd understand. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised that you are rooting for them. If they sweep the Guardians, they could be in a playoff spot.
That's right. I don't believe the Cubs are a legitimate contender. I don't think they can win in the playoffs. It's not their year. I want the Guardians to win. I don't know. I think the Guardians can win the World Series.
What if the Cubs were legitimate?
If the Cubs were a World Series contender, I'd be rooting for them.
I'll remind you, though.
Yeah.
The Cubs are today where the Braves were 2 years ago when they came back and won it all.
I hear you. And you could argue that I'm being a bad fan. And I'm not just saying this to please the fans, or I would have lied in 2016 about the World Series, if anything else. I just think the Cubs are not any good. They've played a bunch of bad teams recently, which has allowed them to play better. They just played the White Sox. They had a tougher stretch earlier in the year. I just don't think they're legit. I think next year they'll be a lot better. I want the Guardians to win so bad. I am so all in on this team.
Welcome to my world.
I want them to get that World Series. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but I believe in this team. I'm so all in on this team that I'm just like, screw it. I don't want the Cubs to win this series. I want the Guardians to get continue momentum and win at least 2 out of 3. Tonight's going to be tough. The guy pitching for the Cubs, Shota Imanaga,
yes,
a rookie, even though he's like 30.
And our best pitchers aren't going to pitch in this series.
No.
So that's why it's going to be tough.
Lively, obviously wasn't great in his last start. Imanaga's been fantastic. He's got a 2.97 ERA, but if you look at his game log, he's had 2 starts where he got destroyed, where he gave up 8 runs in 2 innings.
And everything else, he's been really good.
I bet you he's got a 2 ERA in all his other starts besides those 2. And so he's done a tremendous job for them. 24 walks. I don't know how many innings he's pitched, over 100. Or 28 walks. He's been really good command-wise. And
the Guardians' bats have not exactly been chirping.
The good news is he's a lefty, which, Lane Thomas has been terrible here, but he's killed lefties. He hasn't faced enough since he's been here.
And he's a national leaguer. I think that has something to do with Lane's struggles. When you switch leagues like that,
I think it's less a deal because you play more.
We do see them, but you don't see
It's
everybody.
an adjustment. It's a new park. Your life. We forget about the players as humans.
I know we do.
When you're moving, But I'm sure he's excited to be in a pennant race. He wasn't in a pennant race,
right?
But I think he'll come around. But one other thing I want to say is, we got to get Kyle Manzardo back up here.
Bull, he's not hitting.
I don't care. He's hit enough. He's hit enough.
No, in the minor leagues, he's been terrible.
Lately, but he had been sizzling hot before that, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then he cooled off.
That was the time to bring him up.
But he is your top prospect. George Valera's been very good. Let's get some of these guys up. The Guardians cannot hit righties right now. They're terrible against. They got Lane Thomas, who can't hit righties, hitting second. David Fry can't hit righties right now. And that brings me to my final point. I know I've been rambling. My 2 complaints from yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't bring in Nick Sandlin in the 8th inning.
No.
I don't know what he was doing there. Stephen Vogt's did a great job. He has a great chance to win Manager of the Year. Sandlin's been awful.
I know.
He's given up 6 home runs in his last 11 innings. Byron Buxton, why can't I keep Hunter Gaddis in there? He'd only thrown 17 pitches.
Yeah, no. I think I thought that was
I didn't understand
it's easy
that.
to say that when we have the benefit of the result.
I swear to you.
I didn't. I said, you know what?
I don't want him in there.
But it seems like every time he comes in, he gives up a home run to the first hitter.
And to face Byron Buxton, who we know can be pitched to, and like Gaddis, he can strike out Byron Buxton.
Sure.
But Byron Buxton, if you make a mistake to Byron Buxton, he's hitting it out on you when he's healthy.
Yeah, he is.
And you're bringing a guy who's the most home run pitcher.
Was it Buxton that hit the one that ended up being a foul ball in the 6th or 7th inning?
Yes.
A mammoth.
Yeah,
it would have been a mammoth home run, but it was foul.
And then the dumbest thing, and I was originally mad at Vogt on this, but it turned out it was the player did it himself.
Yeah.
David Fry, you can't be bunting.
Yeah, I didn't understand
what are
that
you doing
either.
there?
And I knew that was on Fry because
there's
no way. There's
it
no
didn't make
way
much
to manage
sense.
How do you have the option to do that? Like,
a player?
If a player,
if Jose Ramirez want to do it, so what? But not
Jose would never do
I would
that.
never expect Jose to ever do that.
He would never do that.
But Jose would be the kind of guy that would and surprise people, and it would work. First of all, if you're going to do it, you better have supreme confidence that it's going to work.
Right. And does he ever bunt?
No, that's the thing. I mean, it was like so out of left field.
And it showed a lack of confidence in himself.
I thought so too.
I don't like that.
I thought so too.
And again, who are you setting it up for? Andrés Giménez, who's had a terrible season?
Right. I'll trust your bat over Jimenez.
Let's go. I know you've been struggling, but he hit a home run in the game.
I know. In that game.
I mean, you can't be sack bunting there.
No.
And fortunately, Clase got out of his own jam that he created.
He did.
A rare jam for him.
Yeah.
But it could have cost them the game. And that if they had lost that game after that double play with Fry, and if Clase had blown it, it would have been the most devastating loss of the season.
Now, you bring up Clase,
Yeah.
and this needs context, but I saw this over the weekend. There is a stat, it's the lowest ERA in Major League Baseball history for pitchers that have thrown at least 150 innings, which isn't a lot.
Oh, career, you talking about?
Career.
Yeah, sure.
He's now got the lowest ERA in Major League history for all pitchers that have thrown at least 150 innings.
Yeah, again, as you said, not a lot of innings
That's
at this
crazy.
point.
Yeah, not
but
a lot
it's
at
still,
all. That's a season for a starter.
That's crazy.
You're
That's
there
crazy.
by August.
That is still a cool stat, though.
1.78. Now, the reason that stat's not a great stat is because I'll read off the other names on the list.
Yeah.
Ed Walsh. Everybody knew you didn't want to face Ed on his best
easy
day.
Ed.
1904 to 1917. Charlie Hoodnett.
Never heard of him.
Devin Williams.
Oh,
Devin Williams, we know.
He's the closer of the Brewers. He's been hurt for most of
Williams,
this year.
We know.
He's really
won
good.
8-8. He's great.
He's
I
really
thought that
good.
was
Yeah,
a receiver at Ohio State.
Yeah. Other than that, Addie Joss.
He pitched
1902.
100 years ago. Yeah.
Jim Devlin, 1873.
Yeah.
Jack Feaster, 1903. And good old Smokey Joe Wood, 1908.
Smokey Joe.
But what's crazy is nobody else that's thrown at least 150
That's
innings
nuts.
has done that.
Him and Devin Williams. That's it.
That's it.
And Devin Williams is nasty like him. I mean, he's
Exactly.
been hurt most of this year. But, by the way, we don't do nicknames like they did in turn of the century baseball.
Yeah, Smokey Joe Wood.
Mordecai Three Fingers Brown. I mean,
one of the all-time greats.
I mean, all those nicknames back then.
Yes.
That is borderline. That nickname is borderline.
Are you pausing on three
Yeah, we got a little pause there.
Yeah, a little pause.
Just a small one.
Yeah.
Lowercase.
We don't know that's why he was. Pause. Never mind.
Oh, my God.
Never mind. We got to pivot.
That was crazy.
We got to pivot.
By the way, his other two fingers on that hand, I think he lost part of his fingers. He didn't have the full fingers. He didn't actually have three fingers.
And
he
Bull
had
just
5
keeps
fingers,
going.
but the other two were cut off.
He just keeps going. He keeps going deeper into it. See,
But despite their struggles before this weekend, I am so into this team and into this season. And part of me wants to stick it to all the naysayers and the fair weather fans.
Right. Now, I will say, not that I'm in their camp,
Yeah.
but I'm an optimist.
Sure.
Usually on baseball. I'm also a realist in my brain. My heart, I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
But I've watched the baseball that this team has played really going back to middle of June. If you go back to the middle of June, we're sub 500. The home runs, which were way up.
Yeah, they've dropped. Yeah, they're not.
We're down. If you just go from that stretch, we're at the bottom of the league, near the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
Home
I'm
runs
scared.
per game.
Yep.
Until we worked 2 runs yesterday later in the game with base hits, every run we had scored in the series was off home runs.
Yeah.
And solos. That's
Listen,
it.
A lot of them.
They've slumped. They're flawed. But here's the thing. The Yankees have slumped and they're flawed.
Every team
The
has.
Orioles have
Yeah.
slumped and they're flawed. There's no team, especially in the American League. Maybe the Phillies, they've had the least
What about the
slump.
Astros? I know where they are now, but remember where they were.
I know they got off to a bad start. But
They're in first place.
they're tied. You're tied with the
I
Mariners.
think they got a 1 percentage point lead.
What's funny is you got a tie for first, not percentage-wise, but in terms of like.
Yeah, the game's out.
They're tied with the Mariners, and in the American Leagues, the Orioles and Yankees are tied, which is crazy.
It really is.
Right? But I look at the Astros, like everybody's like, well, the Guardians pitching. Okay, it's a concern. But all these teams have pitching issues beyond 1 or 2 guys. Seattle's the only team that has a deep rotation.
You're right.
But their lineup sucks.
I'm not worried.
And that's not going to, I mean, you can't, we've seen the Guardians or the Indians go through playoffs where their pitching was lights out and they couldn't score runs.
Right.
You're not going to win a World Series that way.
You need 4 starters, in my opinion, because you don't want to go short rest.
Right.
But you need 3 good starters.
Yeah.
I think there's a reasonable chance, again, not a short thing because a lot of unprovenness here, but I think there's a reasonable chance that Gavin Williams, Tanner Bibee, and Alex Cobb, and I'm asking a lot, especially with Cobb and to some degree Gavin Williams, could be more than adequate, a very competitive top 3 in the playoffs. I believe that, and I look at these other teams, and yes, there's things I like about the Astros, but there's things that I don't like. I don't love their starting pitching.
Yeah.
I don't. The Yankees, I think there's concerns in their pen. And, yeah, Soto and Aaron Judge, I don't want to do it. They're scary as hell.
We keep
the
talking,
superstars.
but
the rest of their lineup is nothing.
But we keep talking about the pitching. To me, they got to find another consistent source of power or consistency. When you get past the 5th hole for the Guardian,
it's a problem. Andrés Giménez has done nothing.
Zero.
Adding Thomas, by the way, has complicated the mix because if you look at Noel's at-bats, he's disappeared.
Yeah.
He's disappeared.
Yeah.
Now, I know that he's a prodigious home run guy.
Yeah.
When he hits them, we're intoxicated by the size of them. We're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when you take a player like that who's getting, not regular reps, but he was more regular.
Yeah.
Now you add Lane. Will Brennan gets sent to the minors. He comes up Friday, gets 3 hits. But Noel's at-bats have dwindled, and now the at-bats he gets have been terrible because he's chasing.
He's swinging at first pitches.
He's swinging at everything.
Because he's like, I got to get my cuts in.
Sure, he's pressing.
He's pressing a little bit.
And so sometimes adding a guy can really throw off the chemistry, and that's what we've done with Thomas, by the way.
I don't think it's throwing off the chemistry. I think, yes.
The mix was good, Bull.
I think they need to consider, if nothing else, dropping Lane Thomas in the lineup against righties.
Absolutely, he has to.
And they got to consider not playing him against tough righties.
I mean, to me, he looks like Will Brennan, though.
But again,
he looks like
not now. He's not hitting at Will Brennan's clip.
He has a track record.
He does
in the league.
He does.
He's been here,
which is why they're sticking with him.
He's been here 2 weeks. We got to be a little patient with it.
I don't have patience, Bull.
I hear you.
I'm 59 and dying fast.
You're definitely not dying fast.